So it's been a rough week in the Jenkins household this week. For those of you that may not have heard, Fadia's mother was ill, admitted to the hospital on Monday morning, and she had been sick for quite some time. We knew that Fadia had to get there fast. So Tuesday morning she was on a plane to Dallas, then to Frankfurt, to Beirut. She got there Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday morning, sitting with her mom, she said goodbye. And then there is all of the stuff that you have to take care of after that. And in a country where Fadia actually now is an outsider, she had to figure out, what do we do next? And as a husband, being 8,000 miles away, watching your wife go through that can be a little bit of a grind. You want to be there, you want to hold her. It's a little rough. And at times like that, you look around and think, okay, things aren't going to slow down. There's going to be a Sunday morning service. Someone's going to have to preach a sermon. And then there's the student center and Bible study to do. Time just keeps on marching. You've been there at your work when stuff's not going right at home. Maybe the bills aren't getting paid, and you're wondering, how's this going to work out? And you still have to get up in the morning and go to work. Or maybe there's strife at work and stuff's going on, and you just really would rather not be there. But you've got to get up and you've got to go, and you've got to do your job, and you've got to do it as unto the Lord. Discouragement. It seems like we're always getting discouraged. It seems like it's very easy to be discouraged. In fact, there's been quite a bit of study on discouragement, depression, criticism, how criticism can bring on discouragement, how negative comments from a boss or a coworker can not only sap your efficiency at work, but your happiness, your joy. You take that home to your husband or your wife, to your kids, maybe the dog, the cat. A professor in the School of Business at Harvard did a study once on the effects of negative comments and what that effect had on a person's happiness in the workplace and on their productivity. She had them keep anonymous journals. 12,000 business people kept anonymous journals for quite a time. I think it was about a month. And then she read through those journals and looked at the positive things that happened during the workday and the negative things that happened during the workday. And then she looked at what effect that had on that person's well-being and on their productivity. And what she learned was what we've heard from other psychologists throughout the years. It's so much easier to get discouraged. One negative comment was twice as effective in decreasing a person's happiness as a positive gain or an advancement in their job or a positive statement to them in making them happy again. But not only that, a negative setback, a negative comment was 3 times more likely to decrease their productivity at work than a positive comment was to increase it. The answer, though, psychologists tell us, is not unearned, unfiltered, almost worthless praise. And we've been told by all different sides of our society and culture, oh, we need to build our kids' self-esteem. We need to speak positively to them. We need to praise them for this, praise them for that. Psychologists tell us that that almost becomes white noise. When it's worthless praise that is not connected to constructive criticism. Now, some of you might have been taught in the business world, okay, you need to do the criticism sandwich, right? Say something good, then a critique, and then say something good again. Well, the psychologists say, well, that doesn't really work well either. Go straight to the point. Here's where we need to improve. Here's my constructive critique. And then here's all the places where I see that it's possible for you to get there, and list the positive attributes of that person. When we apply this stuff to our Old Testament reading today and the prophet Isaiah, he's saying some pretty good stuff to the nation of Israel. But it's not just empty praise. It's not just feel-good words. We've got to remember the context that Isaiah prophesied in. At the beginning of Isaiah's public ministry, his prophecy, the northern kingdom and Judah, Israel and Judah, both were most likely the wealthiest that they had ever been per capita. Not talking about Solomon the king, but in general, there was more wealth in the nation of Israel in the 8th century than at any other time in Israel's history. That might have had something to do with the fact that they controlled the trade that went from Egypt to Assyria to Babylon to India. Anything that was brought into Egypt, almost everything, had to go through the northern kingdom and then through Judah. And you thought toll roads were a new thing. But somewhere around 740 BC, the Assyrians got a little upset with Israel when they started holding back their tribute, their cut of the pie, if you will. And Tiglath-Pileser III, there'll be a test, you've got to remember that name, Tiglath-Pileser III. And his successor, I think it's Sargon, listed as Shalmaneser V, and then his son, Sargon, started to invade Israel. And there were a series of deportations where they took people from the area of Samaria and scattered them across their kingdom. By 721, the northern kingdom ceased to exist. The people had been scattered throughout the Assyrian Empire, and the 10 tribes not Judah or Levi, but the 10 other tribes were lost to the world. And then Sargon's successor, his name, Sennacherib, that's it. Sennacherib went all the way down to Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem had been of the mindset that, hey, the northern kingdom fell, we know what's coming, but our walls are going to protect us. We've got a wall. We're going to be safe. Our alliance with Egypt, I know, that'll keep us safe. By the time Sennacherib surrounded Jerusalem, they figured out we might not be safe. Now, Hezekiah had the king of Judah at that time had trusted in the Lord, and he had made some preparations. He dug an amazing tunnel that supplied water to the city of Jerusalem while denying water to the troops of the Assyrians that were surrounding them. But they weren't going to be able to hold out forever. And the only thing that delivered them at that time from falling to the Assyrians was an act of God. God preserved Jerusalem. This is the context in which Isaiah wrote these words. And he's writing these words not to the people of his day, because Jerusalem would stand for another 100 years and then fall to the Babylonians. And the people, instead of being scattered, the people of Judah, instead of being scattered the way the northern kingdom was, they would be taken, all of the rulers, the wealthy, the educated, the priests, they were all taken to Babylon. And they lived in exile. And Isaiah is writing these words to those people. He's writing words of hope to people that have been beaten down, discouraged, displaced. They might not have felt like they had a whole lot to hang on to. And Isaiah is writing these words to them. But not only is he writing these words to the people in the exile in Babylon, but he's writing them to us. Because we are in exile in this world. We are living in exile just the way the people from Judah lived in Babylon. We live, us in America, as exiles. We are citizens of another country. We have another king. And our hope is not in our government. Our hope is not in a wall. Our hope is not in reformed laws. Our hope is not in the military. Our hope is in the God that spoke these words to Isaiah. These aren't empty words of praise. When you look back and see the first half of Isaiah's prophecies, where he said, "You've forsaken me, you've left me, and I am going to tear down your walls. I am going to leave your fields desolate. Wild beasts will live there. You will be in total disarray, destruction, desolation, and the city, Jerusalem, will be forsaken." So forsaken and desolate. were the two key words for the whole first half of Isaiah's prophecies to Judah. But God was not going to leave them there. He's going to send his servant. His servant is going to redeem them. He's going to buy them back, and he's going to bring them back to the holy city. And these words were written to those people. Listen to these words, because these are for you. These words are for you. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. And for Jerusalem's sake, I will not be quiet, until her righteousness goes forth as brightness, and her salvation as a burning torch. He's not going to keep silent. He's not going to be quiet until your righteousness goes forth as brightness. The nations will see your righteousness, and all the kings will see your glory, Redeemer Lutheran Church. Your glory. And you shall be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will give. I'm going to take these a little out of order. You shall be given a new name. You shall no more be called forsaken. Your land will no more be called desolate. But you will be called, my delight is in her. That's God talking to you. My delight is in her. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like God is delighting in you? Do you feel like God's delight is in you? You should. Because God's the one that's... This is not me talking here. This is God talking. My delight is in her, and your land married. Listen to these. You will be a crown of beauty in the hand of Yahweh. You will be a crown of beauty, a royal diadem in the hand of your God. Not on his head. When a king wears a crown on his head, he can't see it. But if he's holding it in his hand, he can look at it. And he can say, that is beautiful. For the Lord Yahweh delights in you. As a bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you. It's time to smile, folks. Rejoice, because your God is rejoicing over you. And you know why he's rejoicing over you? It's not because you're special. It's not because of anything we've done. It's not because of anything that we deserve. It's because he has chosen us. He has chosen us to be his people, and he sent his servant, Jesus, to suffer and to die for us, to buy us back from the slavery that we were sold into, to buy us back from the exile that we were imprisoned in. Paul says that Jesus was obedient even unto the death of the cross. Why? Because of the joy that was set before him. Yes, he suffered for us, but he did it because there was joy on the other side. And the joy was you and you. joy was in his inheritance in us, the saints. So this morning, as we approach the Lord in prayer, remember who this God is that has asked us to pray. Who this God is that has told us to come to his throne and ask him in his Son's name. And remember that he's the one that's promised that if we ask anything in the name of Christ, he will give it to us. Why? Because you will be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will give you. You will no more be called forsaken, your land no more be called desolate. As the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you.